Holy shit. All right. This is a big one. Patch 1.4. So, let's get into it. We have Boris. This is a new hero. We have battle passes. We have opals, loot cores, new skins for Boris, Greystone, Sereth, Ying, and Twin Blast. Loot cores are just loot boxes, and you can get opals to get skins from the opal store. Skin variants no longer need the base variant to equip. We now have voice chat, which is Discord oriented or Discord integrated. But you don't need Discord, but whatever. We have better custom matches. We can do 1v1s, 2v2s, all that shit. And we have better AFK detection for ranked. Um, we have a new item, Aegis of Agawar. Where is it? Right here. Good for physical bruisers and tanks. Gives health, some power, some crit chance, some extra power based on bonus health. Gives more physical and magical armor, and gives more of those things at lower health. We got a lot of gameplay changes. We have all ranged basic attacks have more range. Jump height and gravity are increased. Increased combat penalty for ranged and melee heroes. I believe this has to do with items. All move speed for everyone is increased by 5%. Blink can now be used during abilities and windups. Blink range is decreased. Comeback XP is a thing. More XP the further behind you and your team are. I believe League has something like this. Crit damage increased across the board by 10%. Damage over time effects restore 100% of health as opposed to 33% of health via lifesteal. Death timers are reduced but are harsher after 10 minutes. You get more gold from most sources, more XP for late game kills but less XP for early game kills. Slows now stack. Damage over times need lower minion health to execute them. That's that little red thing that's over their health bar. On hit effects are more powerful. Wards and sentry stuff has increased range by I think like 50%. Shields now benefit from hero armor, so your armor will be applied to the shield, taking reduced damage. Minions spawn 15 seconds earlier. Jungle camps spawn 15 seconds earlier. Tower plates now only exist until the 12-minute mark and give less gold. Inner towers give less global gold. Gateways spawn at 8 minutes, not 10, so 2 minutes earlier. Takes less time to use, are faster, and grant move speed upon use. They're just buffed. Lane minions give less gold and XP earlier, but more in the late game, and super minions are just stronger. In the jungle, Hunt is just better. Most camps are getting XP increased, including red and blue. Cyan buff XP is just nerfed. Fangtooth spawns a minute earlier at the 4-minute mark. I'm sorry, I'm not keeping up here. I have different notes, but eventually I'll catch up. Mini orb duration is nerfed to 2 minutes instead of 2.5 minutes, I believe. Orb Prime no longer gives flat damage buff and health and mana regen, but it does give physical and magical power that grow to be bigger buffs the later you kill it. I believe at 36 minutes it caps out. And buffs your minions more, so you do less, but your minions do more. Bugs, river camps. Green river is nerfed, gray is nerfed, orange is buffed, and they now spawn at 16 minutes. All melee and ranged magical armor and scaling is increased. Argus. Okay, now we're getting to the part where I need to read off the screen. Well, not really. Argus, health and regen decreased. Mana growth and regen increased. Physical power and shit decreased. Physical armor increased. Is faster. Passive is better. Dread Nova is better. Ether Crystal is slightly better. You can read all the. If you want a more in-depth guide, go somewhere else. I'm just giving you broad strokes. Particle Shredder is scales better, but has more downsides than before. Aurora has her stats. Her stats are nerfed except her physical armor stuff and move speed. Move speed increased. Passive does more damage, but scales worse. Glacial Charge costs less mana. Hoarfrost has a longer range, does less damage earlier and more later, has less scaling, less root time, longer cooldowns, and but costs less mana. Boreal Sweep has similar story, but just costs more. Some good, but mainly nerfs. Her ult is just better. Uh, Countess, big stuff. She's my girl. I love Countess. So she has less health, but better other stats. Her passive completely reworked. Now using two abilities on one target gives Hemorrhage. Hemorrhage is extra damage and move speed and cuts down her cooldowns. Shadow Slip, I believe, is now just like a range thing. You don't actually teleport on thing. I haven't played this, so I may be wrong. But she spawns a shadow at location of use. That damages and slows. The damage is decreased and the cost is increased. Eventide damage is decreased. It's now a projectile, so I believe Ying can now fucking whip that shit back at her. It scales better but has a longer cooldown. Blade Siphon does more damage to monsters. Decreased base damage, better scaling, worse base healing, better healing, scaling, better heals off of heroes, and decreased cooldown. Wow, that was a lot. Her ult now suppresses enemies. Fucking amazing. Applies her passive, doesn't heal countess, does more damage to heroes affected by her passive, and heals based on damage to targets affected by her passive. Her passive, by the way, is like a thing that lasts over 4 seconds, so you could probably like hit a couple people with it and like get a lot of healing. I don't know. I need to actually play it to figure it out, but is what we got. Decreased base damage and worse scaling for her ult. Crunch. All right, now I got to read off this screen because that's where my notes end because this shit was too long. So health decreased, health regen decreased, mana decreased, mana growth decreased, mana regen increased. Yeah, move speed increased. Um, I guess all of his stuff is now blink proxy compatible, which is a little wild. His left crunch base damage decreased, power scaling increased, empowered base damage change. It's okay, so I guess just increased. Empowered physical power, same as okay, whatever the fuck. Empower. Okay, so his right crunch empowered now launches crunch up 300 units if he's already in the air, so that's cool. Um, Empowered knockup height is increased, base damage decreased, physical power scaling increased. Wow, by a lot. Slow is increased, slow duration is increased, empowered stun is increased by a little bit. Cooldown is increased. Increased early game, but the same late game. Cost is now decreased. Forward crunch, um, no longer blocks jumping for additional time. Blink compatible, which is wild. Base damage decreased. Power scaling decreased. Base dash distance decreased, so you go less far. And cost is decreased. His ultimate healing physical power scaling increased by a lot. Decker, I love Decker. Health decreased, mana increased, mana growth decreased, mana regen decreased, so she's just getting a little worse. Physical power decreased, physical armor increased, physical armor growth increased, move speed increased, so a little easier to kill. Photon Disruptor now updates the targeting location upon beam spawning. Damage changed to be bigger. It does less early game, more late game. Cooldown decreased. Stasis Bomb. Projectile speed decreased. Gravity decreased. Overlap. I don't know what any of this shit means. Minimal stun increased. Maximal stun increased. Cooldown decreased. Cooldown cost decreased. Okay. Ion Strike, her ultimate. Damage decreased. Scaling increased. Slow stun duration increased. Cooldown decreased. All across the board. Decreased, so you can use it more. Drongo. I like Drongo. Easier to kill. Mana. More mana. Attack speed is decreased. His looks like he's getting worse. More physical armor. More physical growth. More move speed. Easier to kill. Moves faster. Wastelander no longer cleansable. That makes him pretty strong. He can now do damage regardless of whatever the fuck they do, except whatever the fuck they stasis. Now deals damage applied over 4 ticks instead of 3, so does the same damage but takes longer. Visual grenades now spin in the air. Whoa. Projectile and speed for his grenade is decreased, projectile gravity decreased, radius increased, silence volume changed to silence on impact. Okay, so looks like it's no longer a duration thing. It applies for a duration rather than you have to be in it. Now applies stack of Wastelander. That's pretty cool. Base damage decreased, cooldown decreased, cost decreased. So it looks like his thing is just kind of better. Rad rounds no longer cleansable. Amazing. Now applies an additional stack of Wastelander, so it just does more damage. Cooldown now commits at the end of the ability instead of at the start. Okay. Interesting. I didn't know that it did that. Base damage decreased, scaling increased, additional shot increased, duration increased, cooldown decreased, cost changed. So it looks like it becomes cheaper later in the game. Okay. His boomerang. Blink proxy compatible. Wild. Blocking window increased, cast frame, yeah, shit like that. Scaling decreased, slow increased, cooldown increased, cost decreased. His ultimate. When cast on the ground, shrapnel can't. Oh, it doesn't push him backwards anymore. So it looks like if you want to get pushed backwards, you have to jump. Interesting. I don't know what the fuck blocking window is. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what that fucking means. Base damage is decreased. Scaling is decreased. Armor shred slightly increased. Cooldown is also increased. So his ult is kind of worse. That's just what it's looking like to me. I'm only a gold player, so fucking have mercy on me. I'm not fucking Soul Reaper. I don't know what the shit is. Fang Mao. Fang Mao, if you watch the dev stream, which maybe you did, maybe you didn't, a lot of changes. So less health. He's becoming more assassin-y. Yeah, this shit stuff happens. He changes. His passive is different. Scoring a takedown. So basically, if you at 1, 3, and 5, you get increased physical power for each like unique hero. So it gives you, by killing all the enemy heroes, you get 20%. It's 5% per person, but it only activates every odd hero. His shield is a spell shield. Doesn't actually give you a shield anymore. I think this is pretty good. I like this. Um, it also grants power, physical power. Um, Stats are doubled when blocking a spell. So it looks like if you can actually get a spell blocked off of it, you just get more, which is pretty cool. Hamstring deals damage over 2 instances. Deals bonus physical damage per instance if only one target is hit. So if you hit the same guy twice, you get more damage. Base damage is decreased, and scaling is decreased by a lot. Whoa! Wow, that's a from 70 to 28%. Maybe that's because you're hitting him twice, but still, that's crazy. Um, Reaping Dash, that's his that's his thing. Resets on takedown. Now deals additional damage based on the target's health. Base damage is decreased, scaling increased. Cooldown is changed just to be take longer earlier and shorter later. Cost is decreased. His ult can blink while casting it. Can now use. It looks like it's just doing some quality of life stuff. His width is now it's decreased, so it's harder to hit. Um, Goes on cooldown on cast instead of when dealing damage. Scaling is decreased by a bit, so it does just is worse, I guess. Gadget. Gadget is so a lot of heroes seem to get their health decreased. Seems like uh, Omega wants us to be just like a faster game. That's what I'm getting out of this patch. They want everything to be faster. Health is decreased. Physical armor increased. Mana increased. Mana growth decreased. Physical armor increased. Physical armor growth increased. Movement speed increased. Her passive is reworked, renamed. Gadget acquires a stack of FDA. Don't Field data accumulation. All right, that grants 1 magical power per 5 stacks. Killing an enemy minion grants 1 stack. Damaging heroes abilities grants 3 stacks once per activation. Once per activation, takedowns grant 20 stacks. Looks like it's just scaling. I don't know if this goes away. I think you just get it forever. That's pretty cool. Makes her more powerful over time. Projectile. So her mine uh, damage, her radius, projectile overlap radius increased. I don't know what that means. Has a smaller radius for attachment that is separate from explosion radius, so you have to be a little bit more skillful when placing it. Damaging an enemy that has a sticky mine attached with a basic attack empowers the mine. So if you shoot someone who has a mine attached to them, the mine will do more damage. Base damage decreased by quite a bit. Um, Security gate secondary travels forward up to 170,750 units over 1.2 seconds. I don't know what that means. Its width is decreased. Its height is decreased. No longer destroys upon dealing damage. Now deals damage to minions, monsters, and deployables. Decaying movement speed refreshes upon passing through again. Decaying movement speed magnitude increased. Decaying movement speed duration decreased by half a second. Base damage decreased. Scaling decreased. Root increased. All right. Seek and destroy. Now slowly follows the nearest enemy hero within its radius. Base damage decreased. Scaling decreased. Slow increased. Cooldown decreased. Her ult now expands its radius by 60% across 2 seconds. Radius is decreased initially, or totally, but from that whole thing, and the slow is increased. Gideon, less health. Less mana, less health regen. Mana is increased. Physical power is decreased. Physical power growth decreased. I mean, yeah, does that really matter? He's a mage. What is that? Whatever. Attack speed increased. Physical armor increased. Physical armor growth increased. Movement speed increased. His passive range is decreased. No longer slows. Now roots the target at the end of the duration. Duration is decreased by almost a second. Damage period decreased. Damage increased by a little bit. Scaling is decreased. Cosmic Rift now hits targets it passes through from the sky. Hitbox tightened to match a decal. Range increased. Base damage decreased across the board. Scaling increased. Cost decreased. Cooldown decreased. I probably should have just like actually done this, but this was a lot, guys. I'm sorry. I'm just kind of spewing shit at you. Torn space secondary range decreased. Torn space range decreased. Cooldown decreased. Cost increased. Void breach his alt now range is increased. Explosion radius is increased. Base damage is decreased. It slows for a little bit. Um, His alt can no longer be cleansed. I think that's a good. I think cleanse was a little too powerful for an item to cancel an alt. Radius is decreased. Pull strength is increased. Um, Gideon becomes free sooner. Base damage is increased. Greystone, health growth is decreased. Physical armor is increased. Physical armor growth is increased. His passive, um, deflect, it still remains, and then it looks like he regenerates a little bit of maximum health per second and gains some physical power or physical armor based on level. These values are increased by 1% per missing health, and the healing is doubled under 50%. So makes him stronger the lower health he is. Make way primary no longer extends duration on additional hits. Base damage changed to do more damage later on and less damage earlier on. Scaling is increased and 4% physical armor shred per hit for 5 seconds. That's pretty cool. Sacred Oath now increases attack range by 75 for the attack. Number of hits decreased from 3 to 1. Grants cleave. Physical power scaling is changed to bonus. Base damage is increased. Added 2% maximum health damage scaling. Slow is increased. Cooldown is decreased. His Assault the Gapes is leap. Minimum leap duration decreased. Maximum decrease, so he just doesn't jump as far. His radius is increased. Range increase. No, he does. I don't know what this fucking means. Looks like the radius is bigger of damage and he can go further. That's kind of what it looks like. I don't know what the fuck duration means. It means he does it faster, maybe. It grants decaying movement speed over 2.5 seconds on damaging enemy heroes, so you can actually chase him down. His alt can be cast in the air. That's cool. The statue doesn't have player collision. Removes anti-heal before healing. Healing scaling reduced. Healing multiplier decreased. Damage scaling is increased, and cooldown is decreased. Grim, less health. Man, I feel like everyone's gonna get less health. Mana is decreased. Mana growth increased. Mana regen decreased. Physical power is decreased. Basic attack scaling is decreased. Attack speed is decreased. Looks like a nerf. Physical armor, more physical armor stuff. Movement speed is increased. Attack range is actually remains lower than everyone else's. Everyone else's was increased to 1,500. His remains at this shorter distance. So it looks like Grim's getting a nerf. That's that's the gold player's take. I could be fucking wrong. All right, don't come for me. His displacement blast has a zero point 0.4 second blocking window. Projectile speed is decreased. Gravity is decreased. Overlap. I don't know what the fuck overlap is. Explosion radius is increased. Base damage is decreased. Physical power scaling is increased. Cool. I'm sorry if you guys are fucking falling asleep listening to me. I really apologize. This is a lot. I thought I was gonna, make a little list and make it all quick for everyone because I get tired when shit drags on for way too long. Wow, this is a lot. Wow, China. Okay, I'm sorry. Cost is decreased from it's just decreased. Assault mode. You get more attack speed. Um, it adds cleave in 240 unit radius. Um, slows is now just 10% across the board instead of up to 20%. This will increase your attack range. So this is what gives you the same attack range as everyone else in the game that is ranged. That's interesting. Scaling is decreased. Mana restore just is changed to 8. It used to do less earlier and more later, and now it just gives you 8. Cost is increased. Kind of worse, it looks like. Deflector shield. Duration is increased. Cooldown is increased. His ultimate does more damage, scales better, and has increased cooldown. It just is a flat 90. It doesn't go down to a minute. It just is 90. Grux. EB Gruxin. Less health. Health growth decreased. Health regen decreased. Mana decreased. Mana growth increased. Mana regen growth. Man, they got too many fucking words. Decreased from, a little bit. BAT. What the fuck is BAT? Basic. I don't know. More move speed. He be doing stuff. His passive base damage is changed per stack to just be more earlier and less later. Scaling is increased per stack. Also, his Omni ramp is removed. He doesn't get healing from his passive. They put that onto his secondary, I believe, based on his. I believe it's the Bloodlust stacks. Smash and grab. I believe this can go really long, but you can channel it. You can do it in the air. Cooldown is increased and cost is decreased. I think it's harder to hit. I don't fucking know. Crush, it gives health. Oh, double pain. That's what it is. I'm sorry. I'm fucking wrong. It restores health. This is where his health regen went. Um, his crush is the knock up thing that he does. Doesn't stun, but still knocks him up. Knock up height is decreased. Range is increased, so you can go further. Base damage is changed to do less later and more earlier. Scaling is increased. Cooldown increased, and cost is decreased. Does not collide with a hero upon reaching heroes, but instead stops shortly after damaging them. Deals damage to all targets it passes through. Interesting. Double pain, yeah, does health. Base damage is removed. Scaling changed. Costs, yeah, increased. His alt, attack speed increased. Physical power steal decreased. Cooldown is increased. So kind of just seems worse. All right, Howitzer. I fucking hate Howitzer. Oh, didn't want to do that. Fuck you. Health is decreased. Health regen. I'm not gonna say if health is decreased. I'll just say yeah, it health. If anything, actually, I'm gonna just say everything's fucking health is decreased unless I say otherwise. Um, Mana growth, yeah, they've been just like tweaking all these numbers. I'm just gonna, I'll give broad strokes. Movement speed is increased. Base damage for his art passive, base damage is decreased. Scaling is increased. Minion mana restore is increased. Hero minion mana restore is increased. His R2000 missile, I believe it does more damage if you can direct hit them. Range is increased. Projectile speed is decreased. Scaling increased. Does bonus damage on direct hit. Cooldown is decreased. Landmine, less knockback, less gravity. Base damage is changed to do less later and less earlier. Okay, just decreased. I don't know why they didn't. It's just decreased. Um, Cooldowns decreased. Cost is decreased. Slow grenades trigger collision increase, so it's easier to hit these. Initial damage is changed. It just does less earlier, more later. Your first level does less damage, but everything else does more damage. Um, Initial scaling is increased. Additional damage increased. Slow, so it looks like it's just better. Cost is increased, but the slow is longer. Make it rain. His alt decreased by a quarter of a second. Fires 3 barrages of 8 over half a second each, which half-second gaps between each barrage, instead of 16 across 1.6 seconds. Projectile speed is increased. Explosion radius is, so you need to be a little bit more skillful using these. He moves slower while in his alt. Damage per missile is decreased. Total base damage increased. Scaling per missile is increased. Iggy and Scorch. Man, we're only fucking halfway through or less. Man, you see that right there? That it's I don't know. That's not good. We got a lot still. Man, how long is this fucking video? I wanted this to be 5 minutes long. That's not happening. All right. Iggy and Scorch. His shit being changed. Movement speed is increased. Other shit is changed. Spew, his primary. Damaging an enemy hero with Spew will now grant active turret. So it does turrets shoot faster if you can hit them with the primary. His passive, no longer cleansable. Thank God. Cool. Man, I love cleanse being nerfed. I'm not being sarcastic. I think cleanse was a little too powerful. You could just cancel so many people's shit from it. Scaling is increased for his passive. Flame turret. Now has a white decal to indicate tower range. Oh, interesting. Turret range is increased, base damage is decreased, health scaling is increased for the thing. So it looks like these things are just harder to kill. Cooldown is increased, cost is decreased. Oil spill. Apparently there's some bug fixes. I'm not going to go over them. I'm just saying, if it wasn't supposed to happen, now it happens. Base damage is changed to do more later, less earlier. Scaling is increased. Slow is increased, cooldown decreased, cost decreased. Molotov, blink proxy compatible. That's whack. Like, why would you need that? Whatever. It's like, what's the wind up on that, right? Projectile gravity decreased. Fire, so it has a bigger radius. Damage is decreased. Scaling is decreased. Fire field base damage is increased. So, okay. Fire field scaling is increased. Cost is in. Okay, just, it's cheaper earlier and more expensive later. Cooldown is overall more. Cooldown's increased. His alt makes your turrets stronger. I guess your Torbjorn, your old Overwatch Torbjorn, and you get more movement speed. Kalari is faster and has all this other shit. I don't know, go read it. her basic attack does more damage, more scaling. Um, Her passive, she can jump up to 2 additional times. I think her death mark is now an ability now. It's not a thing. Damaging an enemy hero applies death mark to them, revealing them, and plus whatever percent of their missing health. As true damage, only one target may be affected, so it's still a passive. Death mark is still a passive. Shadow walk. So it's her invisible, I think. Health regen on active remove, so she didn't regen health. Gives her more damage upon exiting invisibility. Oh no, damage on next basic attack removed. I'm sorry, don't fucking listen to me. Movement speed change. You get more movement speed. Duration is changed to just be 6 seconds. New passive gains 2 plus 175% physical pen. Health regeneration when not visible to the enemy team. Okay. Shadow dance. Kalari backflips into the sky. Oh, gives her like another movement ability. And then she dashes to a target, dealing damage. Double if they are affected by death mark. Her dagger cooldown is increased. Additional monster damage increased makes her better in the jungle. Scaling is decreased, slow decreased, slow duration increased. So the percent that they are slowed by is decreased, but the duration is increased. Cooldown is changed to be longer later, but shorter earlier. Her alt does more damage, but does 75% bonus damage based on their missing health, but does less base damage. Scaling is decreased, cooldown is decreased. Chimera, shit. Move speed increased. Health, man, I'm fucking tired. This shit's making me tired. Fifth, fucking damn. How we're fucking far into this shit, huh? I'm sorry, guys. Passive, health regen is increased. Bonus movement speed decreased from his passive. Primary, base damage removed. Total physical power scaling increased. Cooldown decreased. Cost decreased. Secondary, invigorate. Healing scaling is decreased. Health regen scaling is increased. Cost is decreased. Ambush, his jump, leap. Scaling is increased. Range is increased. Cooldown is just 9 seconds now. Cost is just 50. His alt, base damage decreased. Base damage scaling decreased. Damage over time. Damage increased. Damage over time scaling increased. I don't know why I fucking emphasize that. Cooldown is decreased. All right. Fucking. Damn, we got a lot left. Fuck. This is a big one. Okay. Kira, movement speed increased. Her passive is no longer cleansable. Grants Kira Umbra upon reaching max stacks of an enemy hero. Umbra allows her to apply max stacks of vengeance every hit too, so you can hit other people with it. Yeah. Anyway, Dusk primary. Base damage is decreased. Damage per stack is increased. Stack scaling is increased. Slow duration is decreased. Cost is just 70 now. Shadow glide resets on takedown. Range is decreased. Gives more range when you have Umbra. Cooldown is increased. Cost is decreased. Mercy. Bonus damage to minions. 50% cooldown on hero hit is removed. Oh no, does not do more damage to minions. That was removed. I can't fucking read. When Kira gains Umbra, Mercy's current cooldown is reduced by 50%. When Kira has Umbra, Mercy has 50% reduced cooldown. Isn't that what this? That just seems. Oh, her current cooldown on Mercy is reduced by 50%, and then when you have Umbra, it's reduced by 50% when you use it. Okay. Base damage increased, scaling increased, cost is just 45 now. Purge no longer triggers on hit effects. Now deals damage effect over 2, so it does more damage in a shorter duration. Self slow is increased. Base damage per tick is decreased. Scaling per tick is increased. Cooldown is increased. Quang. Movement speed is increased. I'm not even gonna start saying that. I'll just start saying if their movement speed isn't increased and if their health is yeah. Um, yeah, has stats changed. Strike from the heavens, 60% attack speed for the attacks, base damage decreased. CDR, yep, I don't know what that means. We're just skipping it. Judgment of the heavens now affects targets as the sword falls, pulling them to the ground, so you can hit sky with this. Radius is increased, tether distance is increased, so it's easier to hit. Cost is decreased, and scaling's better, so just better. Looks like maybe some. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna fucking tell you everything. Figure it out. Surge of the heavens. Knock up radius is increased. Knock up duration is decreased. Dash range is increased. Base damage decreased. Scaling is increased, cooldown increased, cost decreased. And that's again for Surge of the Heavens. Light of the Heavens. World radius increased? A bunch of shit. It's changed. Move on. Fury of the Heavens. His alt is now Blink proxy compatible. I guess. I guess that's good. Belka. Yeah, more move speed. Her Smig, her basic attack, now fires burst, dealing damage over 3 hits. I thought it already did that. I guess not. Each bullet applies on-hit effects at 40% effectiveness. So this still will give you, if you hit all three, it'll give you 120% effectiveness of on-hit effects. Her passive gives 10% increased mana on maxing an ability. Oh no, does not. That's removed. Now grants 10 ability haste on maxing an ability. Okay. Her primary seismic assault. Instead of traveling, it now explodes within the AoE after half a second. Base damage is decreased. Stun is decreased. Void drone. I believe when you max this out, it will start attacking targets, and it has a bunch of changes. It's different. I think it's good. Void bomb. It explodes twice upon maxing. And the damage is decreased. Scaling is decreased. Cooldown increased. Her alt. It's a skill shot now. It doesn't lock on. Base damage has changed. I believe it does less damage, but the scaling is better, and does less damage, but has further range. Morgesh, yeah, stats changed. Her passive is no longer cleansable. Stacks 3 times. Deals half damage to monsters, and scales. Her fetid dagger, left mouth. That doesn't what? Her basic attack stays at the reduced range, 1,300. But it refreshes pestilence, which I believe is her passive. Yeah. So basic attack refreshes passive. Her hive. Projectile speed is decreased. Now always slows the target hit. Slow is increased. Base damage is decreased. Swarm. Move speed is 50% decaying rather than a flat 20%. Refreshes the duration upon damaging an enemy hero. That's pretty cool. You get 20% damage reduction for the duration. Bonus healing on mark removed. Okay. So if you hit a person that has a mark, it removes it. Healing has changed. Base damage is changed to be more later. Scaling is increased, so she just scales better. Cooldown's increased, cost is decreased. Her mark can now mark minions, monsters, and deployables. Mark will always remain on last hero damage. That's pretty cool. So like you can still use it on things. It has more magical power on heal, more healing on dealing damage. Okay. More scaling, cooldowns increased, and cost is decreased. Mourn. Wow. We've still got so much left. Very little changes to Mourn. Just some stats. Nothing to his kit. Murdoch has stat changes. Yep. Shots fired. Passive. Cooldown is removed. Now triggers on every 6th successful basic attack. Armor pen is removed. Empowered shot range is increased to fucking a long way. I bet fucking Wraith doesn't get that shit. I fucking hate Wraith. It deals bonus damage as well. His primary projectile speed is doubled. Activation time is decreased. Max range is increased. Trap duration is decreased. Base damage is decreased. Yeah, shit is changed. Hot Pursuit is longer. It now gives more movement speed, but it's decaying for sets on takedown. Buckshot gives armor shred. Cooldowns changed, cost decreased. Long Dong of the Law from, you guys remember Mangoose? Anyone watch Mangoose? No? Just me? All 3 of you watching this video? Alright. Wind up laser radius increased. Angle increased. I don't know what this shit means. Base damage increased. I know what that means. Muriel. General. Stat changes. Shit's different. Base damage is increased. Scaling is decreased for her passive. Her primary. Slow. So this is her alt shot, right? Cooldown's decreased. Slow is increased. Alright. Consecrated Ground. That's that bubble thing. Shield is... Right? That's the... Yeah. Yeah, okay. That's the bubble. Bubble's a little different, but it's fine. Her alt, that's the shield that she gives soft locks on allied heroes. That's pretty nice. That's just nice. It's quality of life. Shield scaling is decreased. Movement speed is increased. Attack speed scaling is decreased. Cost more. Looks like it's kind of just worse. I don't know. Fucking get in the comments. Her alt is kind of just worse. Has more shield scaling, but other than that, looks like it's just worse. Narbash, his stats are changed. His passive just is better now. His primary is better now, but costs more. Song of My People uh, is better. It's just better, except for the scaling and base healing. I'm sorry, it's not. Okay, so base healing is decreased, but healing is now doubled for allies. So you do less healing to you, but more to your teammates. That makes sense. Um, his fucking stick that he throws, looks like it's just better. It's just better. Yep, it's just better. His ult damage reduction is increased, but you do less. You do less damage, but you take less damage. Phase shit's different. Um, Healing procs can now stack. Base heal decreased. Replace with phase. 60-second cooldown, 50 mana cost. So, okay. Shit? What the fuck is this shit? Healing procs can stack. Base heal is decreased. Healing scaling is decreased, so you just are worse at healing for her passive. Replace with phase. 60-second cooldown, 50 mana cost. Grants 15% increased damage for 3 seconds. Okay. I don't, I don't know. Whatever. Psychic Flare. Reduce the cooldown of phase to 1 seconds upon damaging the enemy hero. Scaling is decreased. Blind duration is increased. Radius is decreased. You gotta be closer. Energy Lance. You can fucking blink while casting it. That's cool. Range is decreased. Slow per stack is decreased. Root duration is decreased. Cost is decreased. Cooldown is just changed to, yeah, it's just decreased. Her link no longer destroyed when phase gets CC'd. Phase no longer pulls target affected by hard CC. So if you can CC her target, she can't pull it. That's nice. I like that. Fuck phase. She a bitch. Link now turns yellow if phase cannot pull. Pull cooldown is changed to just you can use it more earlier but less later. Rampage. Shit's different. King of the Jungle, his passive attack speed is removed. Regen is increased. Regen is doubled if he's in the jungle. Out of combat healing multiplier removed. Upon being immobilized, gain 40% tenacity for 4 seconds and restore 5% of your maximum health over the duration. Cool. His throw, I believe when you pick up the boulder and you jump, it now uses the boulder. Anything else changed? Pounce. You can blink while he's mid pounce. Pretty cool. His alt duration is increased. Cooldown change to be, yeah, it's just worse later in the game. Bonus health is increased. Regen changed from passive multiplier per second to just get 4% max stacks per second instead of passive multiplier. Revenant. His shit's different. Bounty Hunter. Base physical power is increased. Crit scaling is increased. He's just better. It looks like his passive's just better. Obliterate now prioritizes marked target. Pretty cool. Has longer range. Cooldown's decreased. Cost is decreased by half. Whoa. Consecutive missile modifier is decreased though, so you do less each missile doing to yeah. Um, Scar. Now a single target straight line skill shot. Oh, that's his. Wow, that's pretty cool. Doesn't like lock on anymore. Instances of damage changed from all those different numbers to just 4. It doesn't slow. On using all the stacks, it roots. Duration is increased. Consuming individual stacks now deals the initial damage again instead of 12% of the damage source. Yeah, figure that one out. Range is decreased. Base damage is decreased. PP, my PP is smaller. His PP is smaller. His MP, physical power, fucking duh. They got lazy. Physical power scaling decreased. Magical power scaling decreased. Cooldown is decreased. Cost decreased. He has a bug fix. During reload, it no longer scales with attack speed. His fourth shot now also grants movement speed to himself. Base missing health damage increased. Crit damage is decreased. His alt towers are now present in both realms at the same time. Doesn't root, unfortunate. Slows the target for half a second by a lot, and cooldowns increase. So his alt is kind of just worse. Richter, bigger. He's big boy now. Also, his other features change. His passive, it's reworked to provide more maximum health shield for 3 seconds when damaging heroes or monsters with Whiplash or the first instance of Skewer. So he gets it for in more ways than just standing around. His primary removes shields before dealing damage. His shield, or their shield, I don't fucking know. Damage is decreased. Cooldown is changed to depend on the level. Cost is increased. Electrocute. Damage is decreased. Radius is increased. Move speed increased. Cost decreased. Can be cast. Oh, his Whiplash, his fucking get over here, can be cast in the air and does more damage. Skewer can be cast in the air and can be canceled by CC, removing and preventing further effects after initial damage. So you could actually like save your teammates by stunning him now. That's pretty cool. Sereth, shit changed. Shit's different. Sereth is now damage and CC immune during cast of the Heaven's Fury. Deals bonus damage to monsters. Base damage is changed to do less earlier, but the same later. Scaling is increased on hit modifiers increased. Cooldown changed to be more earlier, so she's weaker in the early game. Ascend, that's the shit where she goes up in the air. Base damage, it just does less damage. It just does less damage. Just say decreased. Scaling is increased for this. Cooldown is increased, cost is decreased. Chastise, her alt, base damage is decreased, scaling is increased, slow duration is increased, cooldown increased, cost decreased. I'm sorry if I'm losing you guys. I'm losing myself right now. Her burn base damage is decreased. Sevarog, shit's different. He's a big boy. He's even bigger than Richter. His size was increased by 8%. His passive, I believe this, if I remember correctly from the dev cast, he just has like Fire Blossom effect on him at all time. Um, his passive, he now can have 990 or 9,999 max stacks. And tier 4, he just gets like different stuff for each tier, so he's just better. The Sevarog is just better. You can play him, you can figure it out. His shit's just better. His Colossal Blow, I believe, yeah, scaling is decreased, base damage is decreased, so it does less damage. But you can I think you can blink, whatever the fuck. You can do shit. Oh, his Phantom Rush, it does damage when you pass through enemies. You can do that as well. And then his root, it doesn't slow. It still just roots, but it's bigger. Damage is increased. Shinbi, is different. Her passive, scaling is decreased. Empowered hit cooldown is a little different. It's worse early game. Her primary, it's going to be easier to hit. It's the wolf is bigger. Um, it just has bigger hitbox. Yeah, it's just better. Her primary is just better. Secondary, looks better. I'm kind of just like fucking zonked out right now, guys. Her alt, no longer recastable, but it has 2 charges. So I believe each charge has its own cooldown. Interesting. All kill. Um, her can't be cleansed. I didn't actually realize that you could cleanse it. I probably would have, you know, won some fucking matchups if I had realized that. Base damage is decreased. Scaling is decreased by a little bit. Skylar, her primary plasma grenade, base damage is decreased. Slow is changed to do more later. Cost is decreased. Air assault. That's when she goes up in the air. Flight duration is increased by half a second. Downward velocity is decreased. Scaling is decreased. Cost is increased. So she's getting a little bit of a nerf. I'm gonna skip over this. This seems like fucking. She's a little bit powerful on her alt. Atomizer ultimate. She can hover during it, so it actually keeps her in the air. Charge time is increased by zero point 0.1 seconds, guys. That makes her unplayable. Scaling is increased. All right. So I know they nerfed it a little bit. Now they brought it back up. Sparrow, fuck Sparrow, Sparrow bitch. Her passive can be applied to minions and monsters. Minion and monster cap decreased. Hail of Arrows now deals damage over 8 ticks instead of 5, so it just does less damage per tick. Cost is decreased, so it's a little bit worse. Her secondaries reworked. Gain attack speed for 6 seconds, and every other basic attack against the same target within this duration to deal plus to 20% total attack damage. So you can still just fucking run one person down, no problem, and it has a longer cooldown. Piercing shot does 60% damage to targets beyond the first. Base damage is decreased. It just is a little bit worse. Her alt, launch X amount of volleys of arrows over 3.5 seconds that deal 75% of your total physical power, physical damage. Side arrows deal less damage, and all arrows apply on hit at 25% effectiveness, and can critically strike at half effectiveness. I don't know what this means. Go player, figure it out. Does she shoot him up in the air now? Is it still just going straight towards him? I don't fucking know. Steel is bigger. I think they're making tanks bigger. Um, Still, health is decreased though. Like, like interesting. His passive is removed, and he has a new passive. Steel shields himself for 8% of his maximum health, so he gets like a Richter thing. Shield lasts until destroyed and refreshes if Steel is not taking damage for. So this is literally just fucking Richter shield. This is old Richter shield, and you get physical armor equal to your bonus magical armor, and magical armor equal to your physical. So you just become tankier. You're a tankier boy. You're actually a like tank. Bull Rush. Damage is decreased. Scaling is decreased, so it's worse. Force Shield. Damages minions. Shield Bash. Scaling is decreased. Cost decreased. Just a little bit worse. Base damage is increased by by double. Whoa. Actually, big damage buff. His ult is his damage is increased, so it looks like Shield got overall like buff. Terra. Wow, lot of different stats. That's crazy. Not bigger though. Doesn't look like she's bigger. Scaling is increased for her primary attack. Ruthless Assault cooldown is increased. Her secondary, the thing where she throws her axe, radius is decreased, speed decreased, root duration looks like it's just worse. It's considered an AOE ability. Yeah, so her fucking axe is worse. Wild Rush, that's what she charges, I think. Scaling is increased, but looks like other shit is just worse other than cooldown. Oh, base damage is increased by a little bit, by not a lot, by fucking by 20 damage. Her ult, armor multiplier on use removed. Duration is increased. Physical armor is decreased. Her ultimate is just worse, other than its duration. Okay, I mean she's anti CC, right? It's just longer anti CC. Faye. Her Bramble Patch gives you better shit. Her Bramble Patch is just better. Her primary is just better. Yeah, it's just better. Harvest Nettles. Mana refund is decreased. Scaling is increased. Range is slightly decreased. Untamed growth alternate duration is decreased by half a second. And her ult, I wish her ult. I wish they made it so it wasn't cleansable. I'd fucking cleansing. I think should get rid of like bleed, and like maybe some passives, but like not your ult. I don't think a fucking item should be able to. I mean, there's silence. All right, whatever. We're not talking about that right now. Time to pull increased. Scaling is increased. Radius is decreased by like 100, but range is increased to, I believe, cast it. Twin Blast. Oh man, guys, we're almost done. Almost. Vaporize. Base damage is changed. More later, less earlier. Cost is increased. Vortex Grenade. Base damage is decreased, and scaling decreased. Slow increased. Slow duration increased. Cost decreased. Looks like he's being a little bit better. Projectile speed is decreased a little bit for his ult. Homing turn rate is decreased. Can critically strike. That's pretty good for him. All right, like you can be crit blast, clip blast, right? Fucking blast that clit. Fucking. All right, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Base bullet is increased, so it just had more bullets. And more attack speed scaling. Wraith. I love Wraith. I just don't think he's a good character, but I love him. Yeah, his different stats. Who's there? Damage duration is increased. Cooldown is decreased. Woo. Projectile and speed for Peekaboo, which is increased. Gravity is increased. Explosion radius is increased. Damage is decreased. Slow duration is increased. Looks like it's just better. Mark duration is slightly decreased. It's changed. Physical scaling is decreased. I don't know. Is it better? Really? Is it? Well, that's just for his Peekaboo. Surprise, surprise. So that's his surprise, surprise is his not fucking anyway, surprise, surprise. Now grants Wraith one really big jump in the duration. That's when he goes invisible. Physical penetration is increased. Duration is decreased. Cooldown decreased. Cost decreased by a lot. Knock knock. That's the sniper shot. It's 3,000 units. That's a lot. That's a lot. That's interesting. Now gains 5 damage, so it scales better. Physical power scaling is decreased, but per your hero level, it gets better. Magical power scaling is decreased. Minion damage modifiers increase, so kill minions better. Um, Cost refund is worse. Cost is changed to have different numbers. Be more later. Back it up is ult. Marks target before teleporting them. Rewind duration is decreased, so it does it faster. Time rewind increased. Time rewinded is increased, so they go back further, but it takes less to actually execute it. Range is increased and cooldowns increased. Yin, my god, we're almost fucking done. I sure hope. Stats are changed. Lash kick doesn't root. Good. I don't think she needed it. Backlash now pushes target away when dealing damage. Quelling Gale slow, so she's just kind of nerfed a little bit. Yeah, she fucking needed it. Xeris, ugh, um, changed. His shit changed. Barricade primary damage. This is his shield. Damage reduction is just flat increased to 75%. Last its max used to be 70%, so it's just better. Duration is decreased, which actually is good. You'd think that'd be bad, but I think that's actually kind of good. You can get that extra damage out faster. Maximum scaling is decreased. Stun is increased. I think it's better. I think his shield thing is better. Evade, better. Well, except for the move speed duration, but it's just better. Spear, stab is blink proxy compatible. Interesting. Uh, can nothing. What can whilst charging throw? I assume this is meant to say blink. Can blink proxy? I don't know. I can't figure that one out. Stab range is decreased. Throw range is increased. So you can by a little bit, by a small amount. Scaling is increased. So his spear is just better. Harder to hit, but better. Coliseum is bigger and has its height decreased. So I think maybe people can jump over it now. Zinx. Zinx decreased movement speed for her passive to 15%, so she got nerfed, and heal multiplier increased by 10%. Ricochet, its cooldowns increased, just all across the board increased. Cost is more costful. It costs more. Bad medicine collides with enemy heroes, spawning the effect below them. Now a lobbed ability. Projectile speed is decreased. Scaling is decreased. Erupt scaling is decreased. Erupt slow is decreased. Cooldowns decreased. Cost increased. Bad medicine. There's two bad medicines. Alt secondary. I feel like they're fucking Omeda's feeling how I'm feeling right now. They just started making fucking mistakes. Anyway, here alt. Base heals increased. So this is the grenade thing, I think. Right? This is the grenade thing. This is the heal. Base heal for her heal is increased. Heal scaling is increased. Her ult grants a little bit more movement speed. All right, item. Fucking damn, that was a lot. My fucking voice is gone. So yeah, this is the shit I talked to earlier. Crests. Ugh, man. Okay. So we're gonna gold. So to get support crests is easier. Silentium you can use from a larger range. Phantom Rush move speed is decreased a little bit. So Leaf Song does not give you as much movement speed. Sanctification, Safeguard, so shield, you get less shield. So Sanctification is worse. Soul Bearer is worse. Soul Bearer is worse. Time Flux Band, it's worse. It takes longer to use. Tempest, healing is increased, but everything else is kind of worse. Next, it's harder to use. Next is harder to use. Ortis is worse. So they're making items less powerful, it looks like. That's kind of what I'm getting out of this. Liberator's worse. Pacifier, just a bug fix. The fucking ice skates, less move speed, less slow, and less duration. Yeah, it's just worse. Consumables, uh, the regular potion is worse later in the game. It doesn't give more health per second per level. Health per second increased, so you just get more health from this thing. Health per second. Oh, wow, my fucking voice is going. Health per second is now increased, so but at levels 6, 11, and 16. No, it used to be 6, 11, 16 to 14, 18, 22. So, it's not as good. Divine Potion, again, no longer gains health per second per level. Health per second increases from 9 to 12, so it's just better. And again, has those level changes where it takes longer to actually upgrade these things. Tonics, I don't fucking use tonics. There's changes to them. Lucky Feather is changed a little bit. Carry. Okay, so I'm not gonna cover these. Yeah, whatever the fuck. Oh man, item changes. Almost there. So Absolution moved from carry to fighter category. Cost is decreased by a little bit. Magical armor is increased. Dust Devil, less movement speed. Lightning Hawk, it's just a little bit worse. Nexian Quiver, more lifesteal. Plasma Blade, more magical power, less attack speed. Sky Splitter is better. Stormbreaker, more attack speed, less damage. Uh, less damage. Yeah. Tainted Rounds, more damage. Terminus, more lifesteal. Envy, and they got rid of Grit, missing health to lifesteal passive removed, so it just has more lifesteal. Envy, costs more. Sacrificial Strike now critically strikes for a reduced value of 140% damage. Interesting. Maladay, worse across the board. Mind Razor, cheaper. A little bit worse, but Cleave power scaling is better. Razor Cleave only applies on basic attacks. And a new passive. Gain physical power equal to 2% of your maximum mana. Interesting. This might be good with Resolution. This physical power, 2% of max mana. That's pretty good. If you can... Yeah, I like that. That's cool. Nightfall. Shield is worse. Omen. Worse. Worse. Tainted Trident. Okay, so some changes, some good, some bad. Physical penetration is less, but blighted strikes anti-heal increased to 50%, so that's a little bit better. But overall, bad stuff is happening to this. It gets worse. Berserker's Axe. Blitz damage is increased. Blitz scaling is changed to 40% bonus physical power. Blitz cooldown is decreased. Blitz no longer has a cooldown reduced on hit. Mist Runner movement speed decreased a little bit, so a little bit worse. Citadel, better. Legacy, better. Overlord. So I think this is going to be a tank. This is going to be a tank meta. Tank bruiser, but mainly tank meta, I think. That's my prediction as a fucking shitty gold player. Physical power for Overlord is increased, but health is decreased. New passive. Upon killing an enemy unit, permanently gain 1 health, increased to 3 for camp leaders, 5 for heroes. Upon reaching 150 stacks, gain an additional 200 health. Yeah, this is a fucking tank meta. Rapture, cost increased. Health increased. Omnivamp increased. So it looks like Rapture just gets better. Yeah, across the board, just gets better. Salvation, I love Salvation. It gets worse, except for Omnivamp, but otherwise it gets worse. Tainted Blade, Blight is increased. But damage amplification is decreased. Caustica, worse. Entropy, worse. Noxia, a little bit better. Soulbinder, let's see. Always deals bonus damage when dealing at a very long range, which is good with all these changes that they made. So if you're hitting people at max range with Soulbinder, which is further than basic attack range for most ranged heroes. So if you're hitting people at the very edge of your range, it will always deal bonus damage. So this is really good. Soulbinder is going to be fucking crazy. I think that's my. If you can hit shit with it, I think you'll be really good. Tainted Scepter, a little bit worse, except for the Blight. Blight is increased by 5%, but overall worse. Wraith Leggings movement speed is nerfed. Galaxy Greaves nerfed, just by a little bit. By its move speed. Marshall, a little bit better. Tainted Charm, better. Tainted Totem, better. True Silver Bracelet, a little bit worse. Vanguardian, better. Warp Stream. Quantum Core has been renamed to Warp Stream. Teleblink, so this is the thing that gives you Teleblink. Not damaged within 3 seconds instead of out of combat. Okay, so because they changed the out of combat stuff. Windcaller, worse. Crystalline Cuirass. Cure my ass. Looks like it's just a little bit better. Magical armor increased. Base health regen removed. Move speed is decreased. So it's like, And max stack is decreased. Frostguard is worse. Stonewall is better. Tainted Bastion is better. Tainted Guard is better. Unbroken Will is better. Warden's Faith is better. And they fixed some bugs. That's it. All right. Go fuck yourself. Go play the game. Bye.